Sup nerds, let's talk about the Istanbul Big Box by AEG. Also, I'm Tom. It's probably important to know that the very first time I played Istanbul was actually with this version, very recently. I don't know how it had escaped me for such a long time, because I've always heard that it's, kind of a staple game nowadays. It's a pretty big deal. A lot of people play it. So I will talk about my thoughts on the base game and the two expansions, because I played both of them, and then I'll talk about the presentation of the big box itself. Istanbul is one of the very few games where I played it, and then right afterwards, immediately played it again. I just really enjoyed it, and I'm surprised that it has escaped me for so long, because I played so many other games, and I've heard about it a lot. However, I felt like a lot of the problem was that a lot of my immediate friends didn't have it. Like, a lot of the times we just play games that other people bring. Like, I've played Terraforming Mars like 10 times because all of my other friends at that time really, really wanted to play it. So it's kind of like the environment you're in or whatever. All I'm saying is I wasn't avoiding this game by any means. There are some games where I'm like, oh, that I've heard about this game, but that doesn't sound great. This actually looked, pretty interesting to me. I liked the worker movement aspect and everything. And, let's just dive into my thoughts right there. That, yeah, the worker movement aspect, well, it's a little bit strange to explain at first. As I'm saying, okay, so you either drop off a disc or you pick up a disc. Sometimes people kind of look at you and they're doing this kind of like, why type of thing. Like, what's the point? Well, you could have just had a worker who just moves 1 or 2 spaces. This means that you can't go too far without needing to come back or retrace your steps in some way. And it is really clever, because I've actually played games, I've won games before, where I never go back to the fountain. I never have to gather them back up, because if you can just find a good path, you can you drop some guys off and come back, and then drop guys off, pick them up, drop them off, pick them up, go back and forth. But there are some of the negatives, though, is with that, is that there might be a bit of some other players, people who've played before, not that they have an advantage, but they might see a really good, like, ooh, the tea house and the Wainwright are right next to each other or something. And that's only if you mix all these places up, which I do recommend. And I think there are some rules, like the fountain still has to be kind of in the center, things like that. But it is possible where I'm just like, okay, I'm going to come here and then go there and then come here and then go there. And like experienced players would kind of know, oh, he's just gathering up a bunch of resources to go to, the Sultan's Palace. Or, like there's some clues that you could be seeing other players doing, and you say, oh, I know what they're going for. Oh, he just immediately went and got 2 fruit, and now he's 2 away from the small mosque. He's going to try and go get that red tile. Whereas new players wouldn't see that. So that is a bit of an issue. But again, that's kind of minor. Like, overall, it's really fun because it's very puzzly. Like, you could have try and go for the same strategy every single time, which is why I recommend that you shuffle them up, so that way it's a little bit harder to go for the same strategy every single time. And there are also times when I feel like this is my strategy, I'm just going to get as much money as I can. And then like something kind of comes up where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to move over here and try and do this instead. For whatever reason, like people are ganged up all on the gemstone dealer or something. Like, I don't have enough money to pay 6 money to all those other players that are on there. I might have to change my strategy. And that's another really cool thing, is I do like the amount of player interaction. While it is mostly multiplayer solitaire and you're just going around doing your own thing, you do have to watch what other players are doing. One, to kind of know, who's in the lead and who to be afraid of, but also you can kind of not block them, but you can try to hinder them a little bit. Oh, this guy has exactly 16 money. Boom, I'm going to go buy this gem. So now it's 17 and he needs to spend a whole action trying to gain more money. I definitely tell people when it's their first game and they're sitting down, I'm like, don't ever go to 0 money. In fact, never have 1 money. Never have less than 2, because then you get really screwed over where any place that another player is at is now a place you just can't go. Or you can go, but you can't do that action. It just, it really limits your options pretty fast. So I guess those are really my only complaints, is that sometimes new players might have somewhat of an advantage. As long as you tell them that never have less than 2 money type of thing, it's probably not a big deal. Sometimes other players have an advantage, but also that the rules do take a bit it's kind of a lot. Like with new players, they're kind of like, oh man, there's so many rules, so many things. But you kind of have to, as you do with any game where you're teaching the game and there's new players playing the game, you know, you kind of have to be a bit of a game master. You have to be like, okay, so just so you know, so you're here, so your options are here and here, here and here. This costs money, this doesn't cost money. Okay, so you come here, so the first thing you do is you're going to pay the 2 money to this guy. Okay, so now you're going to take your action. Which one do you want to do? You want to do this or this? Okay, cool. So now that you did that, the last thing you do is you could have an encounter with this guy. You don't have to, but you could. Okay, so you're going to draw that card, and now you either keep it or discard it, keep it for 2 money, or you discard that card or another card. You know, it sounds like a lot of rules, but if you know them and you can kind of, you know, explain them like that to all the new players, they're going to get it really easily. As for the expansions, the Mocha and Baksheesh one is definitely my favorite. It's the first one that I included. And unless I'm like playing with my mom, let's say, and this game may or may not pass the Tom's Mom test, you know, the is it so simple that anybody can play test. Not saying my mom can't handle a lot of games, but she really can't. But she loves games, so I always play games with her. But for most people, a lot of the times, I really feel like including the Mocha and Baksheesh initially isn't that big of a deal. And actually, I've done that. I sat down and played a 3-player game where the two of the other players hadn't played before, and I included Mocha and Baksheesh, and one of them actually won. I lost, you know, because it's really not that much. It's just an additional resource that you can gather in various ways, just like the other tiles that are out there. It's another way to get rubies. But probably the biggest thing that it's probably important to note, maybe not as important as the never go below $2 rule, but what are these cards called? The ones that just give you so it's not the little actions that you can do for free on your turn. It takes your whole turn. I could probably find it. The guild cards, that's what I was talking about. And another good thing is there is a really nice comprehensive rulebook here with all of the expansion stuff in there too. But I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. That's more talking about the big box presentation itself. Ahead of myself here. Those guild cards are really strong, kind of game changers. And I think that's the point, right? That's why it's your whole turn and you don't move. That also can be used a bit strategically, because if you just use your whole turn to do that, imagine if you were doing like a track where you were going back and forth, right? And then somebody comes to one area and you're like, they know that I'm going back and forth. So when I come back to this place, they know that they're going to be there and they're going to get the 2 money. Well, instead of moving back through this turn, I'm just going to use this action card, which is a big deal. Then they'll have to move away on their next turn, and then I can move over here, boom. But anyways, it is important to tell people that, hey, those guild cards are really powerful, really strong. Don't neglect them, and furthermore, if you see another player draw one, don't be like, oh, that's probably nothing. So that's Mocha and Baksheesh, probably the best expansion, and again, something that I will include with the base game, probably more often than not. Now, Letters and Seals is still a good expansion. I still enjoyed it. The Mocha was better mainly because it was just simpler. It felt like it made more sense. It mixed in better. It's just, hey, here's another resource you need to pick up and another way to get rubies. And the ways that you got them were pretty simple. You know, you could drop money, resources, or cards. But the letters was a lot more random because you're drawing letters and it's like a pickup and delivery. They all have numbers on them, and those are the numbers you need to go to in order to deliver the letters. And all you do is you flip them face over. And I guess it's not because, like, I drew a letter, I think I drew 2 early on, and I was like, man, I'm just never going to that area. Like, it's not like, you know, I drew because you could play it where I drew this place. Okay, 11. Oh, I'm gonna go to 11 now. My strategy is now going to be to gather some more resources so I can go to 11, sell it, get a bunch of money, and deliver this letter. I think that is the initial thought of that. You'll draw a bunch of letters that will guide your strategy. However, with me, I would draw them and go, oh, this doesn't already fit into my strategy, so it feels kind of useless. And that's probably the wrong way for me to have thought about it at that time, especially because you can still utilize letters that aren't delivered, because it's the number of seals that'll get you certain things, especially it'll get you a ruby is the biggest thing. Undelivered letters have 1 and delivered letters have 2. So if you're delivering a bunch of letters, then that's really good. That's how you get more seals faster and you're gaining that resource, so to speak. But if you get 3, I think, is you get to take another turn after this or something. That is also really powerful. And you can get there by delivering one and having another one or something. Yeah, that's because 2 and 1. Huh, math. But in addition to the letters, you also have your companion. I think whatever his name is, this square dude. And this guy can move. You choose either to move your normal stack or this guy, and this guy moves just 1. So the reason why Mocha and Baksheesh was easier is because, again, it just mixed in. It was just an extra resource, some more strategy options. And here, I've got this companion that I could move. So now I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, why would I move this guy versus that guy? Or maybe it'd be better because I'll move this guy 1, 2, and then I'll move this guy 1, or I'll move this guy here and this guy here, so I'll get to use the same place like twice in a row. That could be good. Or, hey, maybe if I have enough seals, I can take another turn, so maybe I need to think about that. And then all of this, my strategy is I want to come here and go there, but then again, I could go to 4, I could go to 3, I could go to 5, and those all deliver me letters. Do those help a lot? So there's a bit more analysis paralysis. And the game, I guess, no, I don't really think it does. Maybe when you're new, it has some, but in my experience, hasn't been that much analysis paralysis because the turns seem to go really fast because not much will change when it's not your turn. But here, even so, there's so many more options now of things you could potentially do that it does kind of bog it down a little bit. And the one tile that I really don't like, I think it's the kiosk. These kiosk tiles, it's just another way to gain resources, but I don't know, they're just kind of lame. You draft them, so it's a little bit interesting that everybody at the table gets involved. You're trying to have more player interaction, but the tiles are just 1 resource, a resource and 1 money. I can exchange a resource for a letter. 2 resources. I roll a die and get that much money. Okay, it's a bit random, but none of these are that great. It's not like they're all whoa, these are all big bombshells, and everybody gets to get one. Which I guess maybe that's good because that would be unbalanced. Everybody would be going there, but it's still, hey, this guy went to the kiosk. Okay, I'll take 1 red. Yeah, no, great. I got a red. The only thing I have yet to play is with both of them mixed in, which is, I think they call it the Grand Bazaar. I'm not averse to it. I would try it out. I just didn't have the time to play. I played the base game twice and then each expansion individually. I've played enough with the same people, definitely, where I feel like we'd definitely be comfortable mixing it all together. It's just not super appealing, I gotta say. I think the fact that the game is really fast is a big part of it. And there's not a lot of analysis paralysis. I'd imagine that the analysis paralysis would go up from letters and seals when you include everything. So not saying I'm opposed to it. I am somewhat reluctant because one of the draws to the game is, hey, it's really quick. It's really easy to teach. So I would almost rather play base game with new players, then include Mocha, then remove Mocha and include seals, and play all 3 of those games, then play 1 game of the Grand Bazaar. But again, I'm just speculating because I haven't played it, so maybe that doesn't mean anything to you. Now, as for the presentation of the big box here, I do really like it. I love the idea of big boxes, right? The fact that you get everything all in one. I know this box isn't that much bigger than the original box. It was like this a bit. But, hey, everything does fit in here, and everything is included. They included this Caravansary token. It actually was a promo. I think it was a Dice Tower promo, actually, and I'm pretty certain I have that promo. It was just, I got it with a bunch of other promos, so it was just in a bag, so it was unusable. And all it is the Caravansary where you draw cards from the base game. If I go, everybody who goes there, the first person to get, not the first person, okay, the last person who goes there draws this. The next time they go there, if they have this token, they will get to keep both of the cards that they drew instead of draw 1, discard 1. Okay, cool. So if you see somebody go for the Caravansary and it looks like they're going to go multiple times so they can draw a bunch of cards, because drawing cards is kind of powerful. It's a decent strategy. Okay, try and block them because you want to go there and take this from them. But nobody remembers this. We keep forgetting it and going, who has this? Who had this last? Oh wait, I do have this, so I should have gotten 2 cards last time. Haha. Now maybe that's just a problem with our group, but also it felt like something to include just for the sake of including it. Didn't really add anything to me. Didn't really add anything to the game for me. With the big box, there are a couple other nitpicky complaints that I do have. The Caravansary token, whatever. But the Caravansary itself, it's printed on here. This so you draw 2 cards and discard 1. It also has the coffee symbol, right? Because when you play the regular game, you only use the bottom 2 halves. You draw 2, keep 1. If you play with Mocha and Baksheesh, you draw coffee, draw 2, discard 1. However, this is double-sided. They could have printed that, they could have not had the coffee on the other side, but they didn't. It's the exact same on both sides, which I think is weird, which means every time I'm explaining the base game to people, I have to point at this and say, ignore that, which is weird. Like, why? Like the same thing with these player aids. They're really nice, they're comprehensive, and they have all of the expansion stuff on there too, and it's in a different color, so you can say, hey, just ignore that part and only do the middle for this. Or we're doing the middle plus just the brown, ignore the red. Again, that's great. But these are double-sided, and they're the same on both sides. So they probably couldn't put like all the cards on the back or something. Maybe they could have put some symbology reminders or something, some ways to get rubies or something. They could have, just the point is, having the exact same thing on both sides means that there's real estate that they could have used that they're just not. I mean, it's not a bad thing per se, but it definitely is a missed opportunity. My last and probably biggest nitpicky complaint with this is the fact that the big box doesn't really have an insert. It just has this little cross thing, and everything fits in there decently. You know, I have to bag it up and make sure, you know, I have to do a little bit of Tetrisy to get it in there. But part of the big box thing is usually that there's like a nice insert or something. Like, even if it doesn't have to be a molded plastic insert. AEG has the conclave box for Mystic Vale. They also have like the geeky box, or they have the geekier box or whatever for Smash Up. Those just really nice with rows of cards and dividers and stuff. So I figured they would do some kind of something like that for this, and they didn't. It's just, you just kind of throw it all in there. Now, hopefully, Insert Here or Broken Token or Daedalus or anybody, y'all will make a real nice insert, because I would love to see that. That would be fantastic. Just ever so slightly disappointed that there wasn't one included in this box. However, those little nitpicky things aside, I do absolutely love Istanbul. Really, really fun. Again, I can't believe it escaped me for so long. And I've been playing it on the app a lot. They have an app for Android, because iPhones are for losers. They have an app for the Android. They probably have it for iPhone too, but I play it on Android. And I've been getting kind of addicted to it. I've missed school, I've lost sleep. This game is so much fun. I highly recommend that you pick it up. I'll put a purchase link in the description box down below. And hey, while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you will never be bored.